This edition of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham brought to you by First Star Logistics. We catch up with Bengals quarterback coach Dan Pitcher. And man, spotlight shining on Coach Pitcher as well as he gets Jake Browning ready to take over for the final 7 games of the regular season. He gets his first NFL start against the Pittsburgh Steelers at Paycor this weekend. And Dan Pitcher thinks that Jake Browning's ready and is going to play well. And he tells us a lot of reasons why. Nobody knows Jake Browning and his ability as a quarterback better than Dan Pitcher does. He's with him every day, all day, every day. On the field, off the field, they're attached at the hip. So I believe in what Dan Pitcher has to say about this young man, Jake Browning, and I think he's going to play exceptionally well. I think he's ready for it. I think his teammates respect the fact that he's ready for it. I think his teammates want to help him perform at the highest level he possibly can. And I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how he gets under center and gets in the shotgun and performs at the quarterback position this weekend against the Steelers. We look forward to another year of In the Trenches presented by First Star Logistics, but we wanted to give you some big news. This season, you'll find our interviews and keys to Bengals victory on In the Trenches in the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, along with our growing team of Joe Goodberry's Bengals on the Brain and Malik Wright's State of the Jungle. Also, the great folks at First Star Logistics have big plans this season with special giveaways each week the Bengals play. So be sure to visit both channels and our social media pages to stay updated on all giveaways and the latest news on the Bengals. So be sure to subscribe to the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, as after this season, it'll become the channel that will host all our content. We appreciate you choosing to join us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, always coming to you from our outstanding studios. And we have an outstanding guest, as usual, for you. None other than quarterback coach Dan Pitcher, the Cincinnati Bengals. And Coach, what was the first thing that went through your mind when you saw Joe try to throw the football on the sideline?
Well, obviously, concern in that moment. Anytime there's something that happens with Joe, you kind of just assume that he's gonna be okay because he's as tough as he is, and there's been little things that have popped up throughout the course of his career that he's just been able to play through and still perform at a very high level. So you're hopeful that was going to be the case, and then kind of after seeing that and talking to him after the game, it sounded like it might be something a little more serious.
And it unfortunately turned out to be the case. He's got a ligament damage that needs repair, and unfortunately Joe Burrow will not be available for the rest of the season to the Cincinnati Bengals. But everybody talks about, including Jake Browning, who we'll get to here shortly, but everybody talks about how big an impact Joe Burrow makes just by being Joe Burrow and being around and being the guy, the leader that he is, and the football savant that he is.
Yeah, this is Joe's team. Joe is a huge part of this organization, and so we'll still lean on him in whatever role he can have to support us. But we feel for him. It's I know how much work he puts in. I see him on a day-to-day basis, really 12 months of the year, and how much he's dedicated to his job. So we feel for him. We understand the position we're in now, and we're excited to move forward. And we know Joe's going to be part of that.
The thing that amazes me about him, Coach, is, even when he learned that it might be a little bit more severe than initially anticipated or whatever, his reaction, in the locker room, it's like he is so even keel. It's like I'd hate to play poker against the guy because, man, I mean, the highs are never too high. The lows are never too low. He just, instead of like, being crestfallen or whatever. It's just he just picks himself right back up and, okay, well, I'm going to go assume this role. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I mean, it's just incredible how how he can process things the way he does and the focus with which he does it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just think his entire life in athletics has been one story after the next of resilience, overcoming adversity in some way, shape, or form. And it's unfortunate that he's got to do that one more time, but he has all the qualities needed to once again put himself back in position to be the best in the world at what he does. And we expect him to do that in time. And in the meantime, he's going to be a great teammate, and we'll lean on him as a resource to help Jake get ready to play. And we're excited for the remainder of this season and know that we can still have success.
And it's very interesting. Jake's been with the organization now for multiple years. He understands every nuance of the offense. He's been around as the offense has gone through evolutions that it may have gone through, whatever the case may be, and he's been part of that. He's very intelligent, obviously. And it's an odd scenario. They're such good friends. You have a great room. You manage a great room there. There's no question about that. And they are close. And as you hate to see your teammate in that situation go down, but then you have to quickly realize, okay, but now it's my opportunity, and I'm going to step up and do the best that I can, even though it stinks how it came about, but I have to go capitalize. And he's in that kind of mindset to do it, isn't he?
No doubt. And that's the role of the backup. And you always work towards fostering a great relationship with any of the players in your room, and especially in the quarterback room when only one guy gets to play. It's crucial that everyone kind of accepts their role getting that person ready, but is also able to maintain their competitive edge and doing all the work that's required to make themselves be at the top of their game should they have to enter the game. And so that's kind of the world that Jake's existed in. He's done it masterfully. He's embraced it while still pushing himself. He's gotten better as a player since he's been here. And this is really what he's worked for. And as you mentioned, I mean, as unfortunate as it is, the circumstances that have brought us here, this is what he's prepared himself for. And he's very prepared, and we're very confident in him.
And he's very confident in his abilities, and rightfully so. I think too, it's like you like your backup quarterback to have some of the same traits and be able to play similarly to what your starting quarterback does. And they do have some similarities to their game, don't they?
They do. That's part of, I think, selecting the best backup for your offense. And one of the elements that I think oftentimes gets maybe overlooked with regard to who becomes a backup in what room is that you have all the reps invested in the starter to run the offense the way that you'd like to run it. And then in the event that the starter can't play, the last thing you want to have to do is scrap the offense. And now all the reps that are invested with the other position groups are no longer as worth as much as they would be if you could continue doing many of the same things that you would do with the starter. Now, I say that knowing, and we say that knowing that Jake Browning is not Joe Burrow.
Sure.
And now it's incumbent on us to put Jake Browning in a position where he can have success. But yes, he can do a lot of the things Joe can do from a cerebral level. He sees the game, he studies, he prepares, he can make the checks. And he also has similar play style qualities, when you look at it. So we think he's very prepared, and we're excited to see what he can do.
I loved the first call, ball on the 25-yard line, and bring two tight ends in. They're on the same side of the formation. It's unbalanced look because of those two tight ends over there. Power football. Jake's up under center thinking, yeah, okay, they're going to run it. Burrow's up. And then it's a naked bootleg, and Jake, makes a great throw. I got to give credit to Baltimore. Defensive end did his job. He tried to contain, and Jake had to kind of little jump pass and sidearm the thing, and he made a great throw to Irwin. To me, it was like, we're staying aggressive, telling your team to tell the Ravens you're staying aggressive. I love that first call.
Yeah, and Jake executed it the way we needed him to. I mean, there's nothing about that play when he boots to his left, flips his hips, throws a little sidearm jump throw and hits the guy in the chest. I mean, nothing about that play says I'm nervous to be in this football game.
Right.
And that's what we expect out of Jake. You know, he's a natural thrower. He's been playing the position his whole life. He had tremendous success at lower levels.
Yep.
He expects that of himself. And we expect him to be able to continue running our offense much in the same way that Joe was able to run it. Obviously, there are differences, but we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to count on him to lead us down the field.
The other thing, you know, Joe Burrow, his movement skills, I think he's starting to get the credit that he deserves. Joe can run. Joe Burrow can run. Jake Browning can run. I mean, when he had that 19-yard run, linebacker has an angle, and he takes what he thinks is the proper angle, and he's flat. And it was not good enough. I mean, Jake ran past him, and Jake can move, man. I mean, he had 40 yards rushing, and so he can hurt you with his feet and his legs, a la Joe Burrow, can he?
Yeah, that's definitely part of his skill set. And some of that, it helps you when, you know, maybe when you don't have as many reps in live action, you know, is to be able at times to rely on that athleticism when it's appropriate. You know, you still have to be able to catch the ball, go through progression, hit the open receiver in time from the pocket, which Jake is able to do. But then when things get a little cloudy or you have to maneuver the pocket based on some factor in the rush, he has that ability. He can extend the play. He can throw on the perimeter in scramble situations, and he can tuck the ball and run if he needs to. So, again, he has all that available to him.
Yeah, he throws on the run very, very accurately. I mean, I've always been impressed with how he throws on the run both ways, you know, right and left. I mean, he can get that done. The fact that Joe's had some preseason injuries that have allowed Jake to take a lot of reps the last couple of years, and probably beneficial as well in terms of working with all the receivers, you know, in practice, getting a lot of reps and not so much in preseason games. But I mean, like the touchdown pass to Jamar Chase, that ball was out of his hand before Jamar turned his head, and he took him to that front pylon. I mean, that was a timing throw, and it was on the money from a timing standpoint, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and he does. He got a lot of reps this training camp working with the ones, and he'll be able to rely on those now, you know, moving forward. So, again, we wish he didn't have those reps in training camp, you know,
Right.
due to you know, unfortunate circumstance with Joe, but he got them, and so now that we find ourselves in this spot, that will be helpful for him, having, you know, thrown with Jamar and TB and T, and he's been around those guys now for 2.5 years. I mean, he understands them. He has a rapport with them. They trust him. He trusts them, and that's what's going to allow us to have success moving forward.
And speaking with some of the offensive linemen after the game, you know, because I remember situations where, you know, our starter goes down and, you know, like a Pro Bowl caliber player like Kenny Anderson, and Turk Schonert proved that he was very capable as a backup and a hell of a quarterback. And I remember Turk came into a game one time, and it was an important point of a game. And we knew we had lost Kenny for a while. We knew it was a significant injury. And so we're thinking, okay, well, how's Turk going to respond here? He comes into the huddle, and instead of having hard-boiled eggs, you know, big eyes, and being a little apprehensive, he's all right, guys, let's go, man. Let's go win this football game. We're like, let's go, dude. Let's go get it done, you know. And guys that I talked to in the O-line, they were like, man, that's exactly how Jake was. Jake came in, it's like, let's go win this game, guys. You know, let's get after it. And they knew he was going to be like that because he's been around a while. But when it actually happens and it's that live combat situation and he responds that way, that's big. That's real big, isn't it?
It is. It is. I think, you know, for the backup quarterback, when he has to play, his teammates have to really feel two different things. They have to sense the preparedness and the confidence of a player that's put the work in.
Yep. And
as a backup, you have to have the self-discipline to put that work in, knowing that if things go the way we hope, you're never going to see the field, right? So that takes a special quality in and of itself. Yeah, it's your job, right? You have to do that. That's what you get paid to do. But to have the discipline week in and week out to do that work, knowing that it may never show, right? That's number one. And they sense that from you the minute you walk in the huddle, whether you have that or not. You can't fake that. You can try to fake it, but these guys are too good. They're too smart. They sense it. And then number two, you have to show the ability to make the play when the play's there to be made. And so it's great if you know what to do and you get in the huddle with confidence. And then when you step up to the plate, if you strike out, it's okay. Yeah, right. He knows what to do, but can we trust him to actually get it done in the moment? And, Jake showed the other night that he can make the play when the play's there to be made. Now it's a small sample and he's got an opportunity to make a lot more, and nothing up to this point guarantees that he will or he won't, but he's in a great place to do it. And his teammates believe he can do it and his coaches believe he can do it. And that's all you can ask.
Yep. No question. And when you look at it, I mean, Baltimore on the road, hostile environment. I mean, tough situation. He goes in and acquitted himself exceptionally well, I thought. I mean, I thought he made many plays that were pretty damn good. And now you get Pittsburgh, but you get him at Paycor. But in the division, we all know the division is predicated on tough, hard-nosed defense. But your first game that you get extended action, then your first start to be Baltimore and Pittsburgh, man, it couldn't be any more challenging, could it?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we find ourselves. It feels like every week you can make that comment, and it's true. And we know how hard this division is.
Yep.
We know how good this defense is in Pittsburgh. They're good all the time, every year. And so that's just the challenge that we have in front of us this week. And, for Jake, honestly, it really doesn't matter who we're lining up across from. It matters in the sense that we're going to have to put a plan together to beat that specific group of players. But for him, this is my chance to start. This is my chance to put the work in, get the reps all week in practice, step onto that field on Sunday, entirely prepared to go show the world what I can do. And it just so happens that it's against the Steelers.
His football acumen, his football IQ is really high level, isn't it, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's as high as just about anyone I've been around. I mean, I put him up there with Joe. I mean, Joe has the thing that separates Joe is just his rare processing ability in the moment, how much he's able to see and just decide instantaneously. That makes Joe just a different person altogether. But when you're just talking about football acumen and understanding the game and understanding how the pieces of the puzzle fit together, when you're talking about a defense, when you're talking about offensive scheme, where the weaknesses are, what you can do to compensate for those weaknesses, and what it costs you to do that, Jake understands that as well as anyone I've been around from a player's standpoint. And that's why he's again in a position to have great success. And now he just has to go do it. But he has that acumen, definitely.
So if you were, and you've done this in your professional football career, you've scouted, you've taken, okay, check this box, check that box, whatever. As you're looking at Jake Browning, what traits, what physical, we talked about the mental traits, what physical traits, rate his throwing arm, rate his mobility, his ability to manipulate the pocket, and extend and create and all those kind of things. Where does Jake rate in those areas?
I think the first thing that stands out to you when you watch Jake every day throw the football is how natural it is. And that might be a difficult thing to communicate what I mean by that. But there are some guys that are big, strong arm guys, but they may be more mechanical throwers. It feels like a sequence of steps. A to B to C to D, ball leaves your hand, right?
Right.
There's guys that can succeed that way. And then there's fluid, natural throwers. Guys that just, it feels like, they picked up a ball when they were 4 and they spun it with ease. And that's Jake. And he's a natural thrower of the football. You don't hold the national record for touchdown passes in high school without being a natural thrower of the football. And so that's the first thing that sticks out. And then you talk about the athleticism. You talk about the ability to move, maneuver the pocket, elude the rush. He has those things as well. So he's going to have to combine those. He's going to have to make great decisions and play on time. Those are the things that tend to creep up when you don't have a ton of playing experience is can I make those calls in the moment and play with the type of play speed and decisiveness that the team requires me to play with. And I think he'll be able to do that. And that's what we're going to find out here in the coming weeks.
You're right, though. I mean, you look at his resume, 91 touchdown passes his senior year in high school. That's obscene. I mean, that's almost incomprehensible. What do you have, like 239 in his career in high school, I think? And undefeated season. Then he goes to Washington goes 39-15 as a starter, and as a sophomore, 6th in the Heisman Trophy voting. I mean, almost goes to New York as a finalist in the Heisman as a sophomore at Washington. I mean, this guy is definitely he's definitely achieved some things. And now Jonah Williams, his old high school teammate, is back with him in the huddle and working together here in the NFL. It's a heck of a story. I think Jake Browning's going to open some eyes, Coach. I really do.
Well, we believe that too. And again, it's up to Jake to now go do it. But he's got the people in place to support him from a coaching standpoint, from a teammate standpoint. These guys love him. They'll play hard for him. They respect him. And all those things combined put him in really a great place to go do what he's been waiting to do.
And that's so important. I mean, that intangible, and Dobbs it's a crazy story. I mean, that's almost an unbelievable thing that Dobbs is doing in Minnesota, and for him to 7 backup quarterbacks have won football games in the NFL this season. He's done it with 2 different teams. That's just a remarkable story. But the way teammates feel about Jake, I think, and watching him interact with guys in the locker room, I think that's going to be the thing that's going to carry the day. I mean, I think guys are like, you know what? I want to help Jake take advantage of this opportunity. He's worked his ass off. I know it means a lot to him. Let's go help this guy succeed. And that's true. That's not, rah-rah talk. That's reality, man. It really is.
I mean, this is a people business. Just like every business is a people business when it gets down to it, right? The people are what matter most. And when you care about the people that are around you working towards a similar goal, you can't help but give a better effort than if that was not the case. And the way Jake has carried himself for 2.5 years has put him in a position where all the people around him care about him and want to see him succeed. And does that guarantee success? No, but it certainly puts you in a good place to have it. And that's where we find ourselves.
And as I look at the schedule, you got Pittsburgh, you get go to Jacksonville. They get a quarterback that when he plays at his highest level, he's a special one. Indianapolis, Minnesota. We already talked about their situation at quarterback. Pittsburgh again. Kansas City's got a pretty good one. Cleveland's living with back. I mean, of the 7 games, I'm telling you, Jake Browning, I'd stack him right in there with all the others. I'm not saying, but Jacksonville, you never know. In my mind, he's up and down, and but Mahomes usually plays pretty darn good football. Dan Horde was going through the analytics of things. Win 4 home games, Coach. Playoff possibilities go up to 52%. Win 4 home games and win the Pittsburgh game on the road, they go to 91%. So sweep Pittsburgh and win the other 3 home games. And Jake Browning at the quarterback position, he can do it. I mean, there's no doubt. Is it a slam dunk? Hell no, it never is in the NFL. It's never easy. But is it achievable? Hell yeah, it is.
Well, you've plotted a heck of a course for us, Lap. But we're gonna stay focused on the one that we got in front of us right now, because we got to take care of that one before the rest of it matters. But suffice it to say that the people walking around this building are walking around with energy and enthusiasm and a belief that we can still accomplish the goals that we set out to accomplish for ourselves this year. We've suffered a setback, a significant one, but the season is not over, and we're full steam ahead.
Full steam ahead for sure, Coach. And I'm totally confident that under your guidance, Jake Browning will be ready to roll against the Pittsburgh Steelers, sir.
Well, we're excited, and we can't wait for it.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us so much of it on a busy day, and put together a good one.
You got it, Lap.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.